Well, this is probably the officially worst Tinder date ever. Clearly, I just watched Succubus, which is a 2024 release based on a succubus, because that's what it is. If you don't know what a succubus is, it's a demon that basically uses sex to amplify its own power and influence. So that's kind of cool. I haven't seen a film that went down that path before. I'm sure they exist, but yeah, it's kind of a first for me anyway. Spoiler alert, you know the drill. There's going to be talk about what happened in the movie and the events and the ending. So yeah, you know the drill. So we got this guy, Chris, who has recently separated but not divorced from his wife. They have a kid together. He has the kid, and his buddy is trying to tell him basically, get yourself out there, man. Like, you've been separated for quite a while. You deserve to be happy. Let's set you up on a Tinder type profile thing. I can't remember what it's called. It's not Tinder because it's like one from the movie or whatever, but I'm just gonna refer to it as Tinder because I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, they set up this profile with him on Tinder, and they're like, get some, rugged camping pictures and all that garbage. And anyway, sets the profile up, makes it live, and they're going through profiles, and he's just like, yeah, just match all of them, and then one of them is eventually gonna match you. And he's matching through them, and all of a sudden he stops. He's like, oh shit! And his buddy Eddie is on the phone with him while they're looking over it. There's a lot of video conference scenes, which is interesting. It's almost like half like video call and phone call and half like in-person video. It's an interesting mix of that. I didn't even realize that until just now. Anyway, whatever. So they're going through and shit, what's wrong? Well, I actually know this girl. He's like, oh, but she matched you back? He's like, yeah, but she's at my gym or something like that. And he's like, okay, well, and then she messages him and he's like, Chris? He's like, oh fuck. He's like, yeah, he tells her he was hacked or something stupid like that, and she seems disappointed or something. And the buddy's like, dude, what are you doing? Anyway, they finish the call, and he's like, you know what, I don't want to do this. And just as he's about to delete his account, the last profile that showed up, before the conversation happened, is this girl, Adra. And she's got, she's in her underoos and covering her face with her phone, and he's kind of intrigued. He's like, fuck it. So he matches her. He figures, okay, I'll get one last one in and see what happens. Anyway, he matches her, and she matches back and messages him right away. Hi. He's like, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. So they chat a little bit, and she's like, can we video call? Or he's like, can we video call? And then they do it, and she's on there with some stupid rabbit filter and sunglasses in a rather dark room. And she tells him basically she's been hurt and she's still recovering. And she doesn't want to reveal her face or whatever, because he asked her to take the filter off and, can I see your face? And she's like, no. This whole thing of you could be a 500-pound Russian guy or something like that. She's like, okay, well, tell me to do something. And he's like, okay, do the Vulcan salute. And she's like, what the hell's that? And he's like, Rah. She's like, okay. So she does it. And he's like, okay, that's cool. Show me your tattoos. She shows him the tattoos, and he's like, okay, well, you did two things I asked. I'm convinced you're not just some Russian guy hitting buttons that send a response, so let's chat. Anyway, they kind of hit it off. She seems like a genuinely sweet, if not slightly overly horned up lady, but she's not pushing it too hard, so it seems legit. He's probably assuming she's on there and she went for a fling or something, but they're actually chatting and getting along, so she's not being aggressive about it, whatever, yet. And he opens up to her about the whole situation with the wife and the kid and all that, and she's like, oh man, you seem like a really good guy and all that stuff. And she's like, I'd like to meet you. And he's like, really? She's like, yeah, would you like to meet me? And he's like, yeah, I would. So she sends him a map of her address, and she's actually in the same city as him, so that's phenomenal. Or at least it appears that way, I don't know. It looked like it was just a neighborhood over or something, so convenient, right? Anyway, so he calls his buddy back. He's like, buddy, can you come watch my kid? And he's like, dude, I'm kind of drunk. Or I think he says he's drunk or something, but he can't in any way. So he messages her back. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry, I can't. She's like, okay, well, that's unfortunate. Anyway, while this is happening, Chris's wife at one point calls, and she's at like a bachelorette party and is a little bit juiced. Her buddy Eddie's wife, Charlize, and her are both in the same party together. I guess they're like bridesmaids or something. Anyway, she starts like talking about like, you know, us type stuff, like not fully getting into it, but hinting that she wants to maybe fix things. But then she's like, yeah, we should like talk when I'm like of mind. And he's like, okay, I understand that. And of course Charlize pops up and he's like, kind of has that why the fuck are you talking to him look in her eyes. I don't really know what the issue between them was. I know they said something about him being like off working all the time or something like that, so whatever. But anyway, she's clearly not a Chris fan, despite Sharon still having the feelers. So anyway, they end on that note, and this whole time Adra is like thirsting and kind of messaging him like, hey, like, can we, you know, talk, you know, let's meet or whatever. And he gets a random phone or a random message from someone named Oren Zephyr, and this is the character played by Ron Perlman. Hell yeah. Gotta love Ron Perlman, right? Anyway, he messages him and he's like, dude, have you been talking to someone new lately? Because if you have, we need to talk. This is very important. He just sort of ignores the messages, messaged him a couple times. Ends up like messenger phoning him, and he declines the call. And Zephyr's like, dude, listen, we need to talk. This is important. If I'm wrong, it'll take like 2 minutes of your time. And, sorry, thirsty. 2 minutes of your time. And if I'm wrong, like I said, I'll leave you alone. He's like, fine. So they talk, and he starts like going on knowing kind of what was going on. He's like, you met a girl, right? He's like, yeah. Like, have you been like sexual with her? And he's like, no. we met online. Like we haven't met or anything. He's like, okay, well, I'm warning you, blah blah. Clearly they have a history. Oh, I forgot, the very beginning scene before anything starts with Chris, it shows Zephyr, Oren Zephyr, Professor Ron Perlman, basically, leaving a message on his phone to like his wife or kids or something, saying like, you know, I'm sorry and whatever, and gets out of his car and pulls out an axe and heads over to a house. So I don't know if he like took out his family or if he took someone else out who was under the thrall of what we eventually find out is a succubus. But anyway, we're jumping ahead. I told you there were spoilers, so whatever. No shame, no sympathy. So that's happening. Adra calls him again, and her voice is bad because her voice was missing, and she's like saying she was too like unwell to like leave her house, so he would have to come there, and like she can like whisper but not really talk. That was their first conversation before he said I can't come over. Anyway, she's like, okay, so do you want to just like let's have a video call? And he's like, all right. And she's being very flirtatious, like both, you know, you're handsome type stuff and like, hey, these are my boobs type stuff. So anyway, they have an awkward moment where they like kiss the screens. I guess that's how they kiss online. Like I don't know what the kids do these days, but very awkward. 3 moments of them kissing their own screen, like whatever. Anyway, she's like, okay, so I got a cool idea. Let's do you want to see my room? And he's like, yeah. Because, you know, men, right? We're horrible. So she said, okay, take my hand. And she puts on the side of the screen, I guess gesturing for him to take the side of the screen. They go up to each other's respective rooms to, I suppose, cyber. Do they still call it cybering? I don't know. Oh, I'm so old. Anyway, that happens, and they start getting into it, and she starts asking more and more questions, like, do you want me? Do you like it? Blah, blah. And then she's like, do you love me? And he's in the thrall of, like, it. In his mind and in reality, she's actually there with him physically, and he's, like, I guess the cyber session is so good that either his fantasy is being projected on the screen, or she's a succubus, so she has powers, so maybe she is physically there, but like the line is blurred. Anyway, they do that, And he wakes up in this red room, and it looks like, I guess it's her room or something, and he's looking around. He's like, Adra? Completely naked. She's nowhere to be seen. He's freaking out a little bit. Sorry, hiccups. Yeah, so he's panicking, right? No sign of her. Opens the door. When he opens the door, there's just a red wall where the door would be. He's like, what the fuck? He looks at the window, and there's sun shining through the window, and he opens the curtains, and it's a red wall. And he shuts them again, and there's sun shining through. Opens them up, red wall. He's like, what the fuck? Turns out his mind is now trapped. His body's still in his house, but his mind is trapped, and she's like sort of using that to her advantage, I guess, to, I don't know, eventually take control of him or something like that. But he hears his phone ring. And even in this room, he has his phone somehow. And he answers. He's like, hello? And it's Zephyr. He's like, what's going on? I'm going to be there very shortly. He's like, tells him what's going on. He's like, you got to be very serious with me. Did you sleep with her? He's like, well, not really. He's like, what do you mean? And he explains the whole cyber sex thing. And like, flicking the bean and jerking the gherkin to each other. Whatever. Do I really have to say that? Probably not. He's like, really? She got to you through the computer? Interesting. Like, what do you mean interesting? I'm stuck in this like room I can't get out of. So okay, listen. Since you weren't actually physically physical with her, you didn't actually partake in the actual act of skin to skinness, there is a chance that you can be saved. He's like, okay, so like help me do that. He's like, Zephyr is on the phone. He's like, okay, so you see the door there? He's like, yeah. He says, that's the door that you entered from, right? And he's like, yeah. He says, okay, so look through the wall. He's like, what? He's like, can you do that? He's like, no, it's a wall. Like, how do I'm not Superman or X-Ray Cat. If you get that reference, except he can't look through, he can only look through wooden doors, I think. Anyway, so stupid. So he's like, no, your body is still physically in your house. Your mind is trapped. So what you need to do is figure out how to get back to your body. It could be like through like a sewer system, or there could be like a street or trees or whatever. I guess it's different for everyone, I don't know. But you need to find a way to regain sight through your actual physical eyes. And he's like, how the hell do I... And anyway, he ends up vaguely doing that. And he can kind of see the screen. And he can see the phone. And then everything cuts out and his phone's gone. But he's, I guess, slowly regaining some control, because like articles of his clothing are like reappearing on him, and he doesn't really notice it. But like first his pants are on, and he's still shirtless or whatever, and then the phone rings in his pocket, and he takes the phone out. Oh yeah, because the phone disappears or whatever when he is like that, and he's standing there, and it's like Ron's like, because it like you never had your phone anyway. Like in this world you don't. In real world it's sitting on the table. I don't know how you managed to answer it. Anyway, so pants reappear, phone rings again. Pulls it out of his pocket. He's like, how did this just reappear again? Like it literally appeared and disappeared, and now it's back. And anyway, he somehow gains the strength to actually answer the phone physically, I guess, in the real world. He has brief amounts of control, I suppose. He's like really fighting this. It's a good thing he didn't go over there, because lo and behold, he's talking to Zephyr, and he gets a message and a call from Eddie, who says, listen. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Okay, so... God damn it. So backtrack a little bit before he gets trapped in this void or whatever. His video gets hacked. Like his computer gets hacked. And his buddy logs into his account and sends Adra a message saying, hey, I'm coming over. He finds the map or whatever. Real creepy thing to do. I guess he's going to pretend to be his buddy or something. That's pretty messed up. But in doing this, he like broadcasts the nanny cam. So when he's initially... with her on the phone, it's broadcast to, like, everyone. He's getting calls from Sharon and, like, text saying, what the fuck? And he's swiping it away because he's, in the middle of this call with Adra. And then his mom calls and he answers, like, what, Mom? He's like, your camera's on. He's like, what? He's like, your nanny cam is on. He stops, realizing, oh my god, I just broadcast myself doing that to the internet. So that's great. That's what his wife was, or his I guess she'd be still a wife. His separated wife is messaging about. She calls him. He's like, "What the are you doing?" And like, he's in the room with the crib. It's like, I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, that's out there, and Sharon's like obviously horrified, clearly, and like she opened it to show everyone the baby at the bachelorette party. And everyone sees her separated husband person there going to town. As George Costanza's mom would say, treat your body like an amusement park or whatever. So that's really awkward. He's probably traumatized for life over that. Anyway. So then he talks to his buddy and he talks to Adra, and he realizes that his thing's been hacked, and realizes, she says, well, are you coming? And he's like, what do you mean? I said I couldn't. He's like, no, you messaged me. Turns out that was Eddie, who messaged and said I'm coming under guise of him. Like, they video call. I don't know. I don't know what he thinks. She's not going to know what he looks like. Well, anyway, whatever. It's neither here or there. So she warns him, but they both assume right away that this Zephyr guy is like a stalker or something, or, well, she knows the whole story of him, but Chris, is naive and thinks, oh my god, he's like coming to your house, now he knows where you live, shit. So he's panicking, and yeah, that's when he talks to his buddy on the phone, saying like, you have to come here, this creepy dude is like going to your house. He's like, no, dude, that's me, I'm like literally driving there right now. It's like, what? It's like, well, you're gonna delete your account anyway, I might as well use it to score some creepy thing to do. No matter how you look at it, there's no excusing that. That's just messed up. And it's like, he even looks up on Google. It's like, can I say it on YouTube? Well, I'm not monetized anyway. So rape by deception, he looks it up, and that's what it is. And he explains to his buddy, you can't do this. If you have any respect for our friendship, you will not go through with this. And he's like, fine. So anyway, he says he's not going. Turns out he does go, though. So, wow, good job, bud. He calls her and basically says, like, it was my buddy. So Zephyr is not coming there. Neither is Eddie. You're good. But Eddie is coming there because she messaged his private profile apparently later, and due to Chris, I guess, not complying with her request for Fantastical Fornication Adventures, Eddie was the next best thing. Little does the Succubus know, her goal essentially is to, like, spread by breeding. And Eddie has a very low sperm count, unfortunately. So he goes there and he's all seduced, and she's in her, like, demon form, like spikes and, like, ears and stuff, and she's under a blanket, but he's seeing her as, like, her profile, I guess, but the video is showing her as her demon thing. And he lifts she's like, do you want to see me? He's like, yeah, baby. And he lifts the blanket, and there's like this pulsing blob thing, but he's obviously seeing like her legs or something. He's like, oh my god, you are so beautiful. And yeah, so he poonches the blob. Yeah, that's a thing that happened in this movie. And when he completes, let's keep it as nice as we can, even though this whole movie is about like a demon that bangs people. But anyway, he completes, and I guess she instantly knows, oh, you don't have any sperm. That's not gonna work. She says, I really expected more from you. And he's like, what? And then he sees her true form and sees what's going on, and there's like a scene of it like pulling his little wiener thing there, and yeah, that's a visual. And then like his skin rips off and he just like dies. If you've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, so what happens to Johnny Storm essentially happens to him. So she's done with him. She has no use for this guy. He's dead. So Eddie's done. Meanwhile, Chris in the Void has been seeing this on this, like, I get he knows somehow. I don't know. I can't remember how, but anyway, he knows. Anyway, Zephyr's on his way to Chris's house. He's going to try to snap him out of it. Chris, at this point, is... Adra tells him that essentially, like, he needs to be inside of him as he's inside of her or whatever, so that they can be one, and she can use his seeds to reproduce, and meaning she's gonna use him to impregnate Sharon, I guess, and spread demon DNA or something throughout the world through them or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. That's the plan. But he is really fighting to get out of this void. Like he was managed to like break a little hole through the wall. That's how he was able to see like the phone and stuff, and he was like peeling the wall apart more and more until it's open, and there's kind of like a shimmery, like portally void thing across a span of like emptiness, and he thinks, okay, well, I'm gonna just go run and jump for it, and we'll see what happens. And he does that, and he clearly doesn't make it. Excuse me. I'm sick, I apologize. I probably should be drinking water, not Coke, but whatever. Anyway, he jumps the void, does not clear it, falls into the abyss. That's good. So he's comatose. This is when Zephyr shows up. He had given him the address and the alarm code and everything. And Zephyr like shakes him, like smacks him, trying to snap him out of it. Here's the baby crying, so nice guy. Goes, brings the bottle to the baby, like good on you, bud. Comes back down and he sees, well, he's like, there's no hope here. I'm not, I guess you can't be saved, but I also can't let her come through and take over your body and I guess essentially become an incubus that way, right? Because an incubus is like the male version of a succubus. So succubus preys on men, incubus preys on women through sexual exploitation of themselves and seduction. I don't know why I said it like that. So that's the plan. That's her plan anyway, and it seems to be working quite well. So Zephyr's like, all right, I'm just going to shoot you. I mean, we got to end it here. If I kill you, she's not getting out of you. She's got to either start from scratch or she's dead, or I don't know. Anyway, that's his plan. As he puts the gun to his temple, I guess Chris regains enough, like, sentience to, like, flinch or something. He's like, oh, okay. It's like, okay, what about the brainstem? And he puts the gun in his mouth, and it's like, oh my god. And suddenly, that's when Sharon comes in the house. She's like, Chris, we need to talk. And he's just sitting there looking at the computer. Ron Perlman, of course, goes behind the wall and, like, hides. And she's like, Chris. And the baby's crying. She's like, looks up. Seriously? Goes and tends to the baby. Zephyr kind of relocates to, like, be out of the way. She comes downstairs. She finally realizes that he's, like, zonked out. He's, like, in a coma or something. She immediately freaks out, tries to snap him out of it, calls 911, is like, I think my husband had a stroke. Like, someone come here. He's not moving, but he's breathing. Like, anyway. That's when Zephyr steps out with the gun. He's like, no, you tell them. Tell them it was a mistake. She's like, it was, never mind, he's good. Anyway. As is, I guess, custom, they have to call back when she hangs up, and he tells her not to answer it. So that's fun. He points the gun at her, and he's like, okay, I could make this, I guess, a murder-suicide. She's like, what? No, I don't even know what's going on. Like, why am I now a part of this? And what do you... Like, anyway, she's clearly panicking, and for good reason, right? So, that being said, gun to her, and he, I guess, seeing his Sharon in trouble, he, like, regains consciousness just enough to, like, reach out and bite him in the hand. The gun falls. Sharon grabs the gun, and then he's zonked back into the void. That was, like, as good as he could get, unfortunately. So, yeah. He did his part, though. That was a good contribution. So anyway, she has the gun now. He's like, the safety's on. And she shoots. He's like, okay. Alright. I'll leave. He takes off. She's like, anyway. He is still comatose. She, like, is telling him she loves him and she never wanted him to, like, get hurt and all that stuff, and hopes he's okay and comes back to her and all that stuff. And she kisses him, and that snaps him out of it. That snaps him out of the void or whatever enough, and he's back in the world, and he's like, oh my god. But that also snaps Adra out of it partially. So she takes over his body enough to initiate intercourse with Sharon, who, well, they have like a whole like lovey-dovey montage of like them cuddling with the baby and like everything's happy and stuff and whatnot. And so yeah, and then one morning she just takes over and like, hey, well, you're gonna bang your wife now and you're gonna get her pregnant with your little demon spermies, and that's gonna be what's going on. And he doesn't have really control over this, unfortunately. And they start going, and she's kind of like playing the cuck a little bit at first, but then like in his mind world, she's copulating with him, and in the physical world, he's with his wife. So it's kind of like a trans-dimensional three-way, I guess you could say. Anyway, whatever. He snaps out of it just enough before he's about to impregnate, and stands back and pushes her, and the wife's all freaked out, and he takes a piece of glass from a broken frame that I guess they just never fixed yet. This is something that happened like earlier in the movie, like a frame fell and the glass is broken and whatnot. But yeah, he grabs this blade and he goes and he basically castrates himself, which it doesn't show the actual castration, but it shows his the separation of his gonads hitting the ground. So that's a visual that will be in my head forever now. She's like, what did you do? And then he's comatose again, basically. It goes into the future of like him being on an IV in a chair, motionless. And the mom is over there, and I guess it's been a while because everyone's somewhat used to his condition enough to like not be like, oh my god. Turns out the wife tells the mom that though they couldn't save or reattach the oh god, they couldn't reattach his testicles, but she asked them to extract from them to have another kid with him. So she announces her pregnancy, and the mom's like, oh my god. Instead of saying, oh my god, what the hell, she's like, oh my god, that's the greatest news ever. And she's like thrilled. And then Charlize is there too, and she's like, that's not all the news. So Charlize's husband's dead, so we used his seed to impregnate her too. And then the mom is also more happy for some reason. She's like, oh my god, you're gonna be a dad again, twice. And even though he's comatose, you see his eyes just widen slightly, like, oh fuck. So he didn't save the day at all. That's the sad thing too, is like just after he like removes his area, separates his testes from himself, he is like, I did it, I beat her. Well, turns out you didn't, bud. So that's fun. And then that's the end of the movie. So basically they're both impregnated with demon babies, and he's comatose, and yeah, happy ending. Oh shit! No. Okay, so damn it. So the reason he went comatose is because after he did that to himself, Zephyr had come back and like with an axe hit him in the head, and then that's what gave him brain damage, I guess, and put him out of it. Didn't kill him, but tried to. They don't show this like a struggle after anything. They just show the axe just almost connecting, and then it fades out into like him in the chair in the future with his mom and all that. So whatever. So that's what happened. And they never found Zephyr, apparently, the cops or whatever. So that's fun. And then that's the end of the movie. And then a cool song plays. It had a pretty cool soundtrack, the movie. At least the beginning song and the end song were kind of dug it. So, what am I going to rate this movie? Oh my god, this video is going long. I'll try to cut it short. Sorry. What am I going to rate this movie? I'm going to give it flat-ass 7. 7 out of 10. Entertaining. I'll probably watch it again, maybe once or twice or something. It's worth seeing. Strong points. They luckily don't show, like, they show genitals, but they don't show genital mutilation, which is a good thing. I'm very happy about that. There's, like, a little bit of stretching of Eddie, but no, like, yeah, they don't show, like, the castration scene or anything, which is, well, they show it, but they don't show it. that makes sense. So that's good. The acting was pretty decent. The girl who played Adra, the succubus, I don't think I've ever seen her in anything before, but she was kind of neat. Well, she played that well. I'd have to see her in another role to judge, but she seemed like she was actually okay, so that was good. Yeah, 7. I think that's fair. So check it out. I'd say it's worth checking out. I bought it on a whim. I just saw it at Sunshine Records, and it was relatively cheap. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, Ron Perlman. Hell yeah, I'll buy this. So I don't regret buying it. I'll probably get a few other watches out of it. So, yep. 7 out of 10. Check it out. Succubus 2024. Ron Perlman. All right. Peace.